Take our seats and get started. I know everyone wants to get out of here early this evening. So, with that, would we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, excuse me. Okay, we're going to start with the roll call and introduction of new members and alternates.
Eva Henry. Here. Bill Holen. Nancy Sharp. Elise Jones. Here. Dennis Harward. Here. Tim Mock. Here. Chrissy Fanganello. Here. Chris Nevitt. Robin Kniech. Roger Partridge. Dave Weaver. Gail Watson. Connie McLean. Don Rozier. Here. Bob Pfeiffer.
Here.
Bob Roth. Here. Sue Horn. Here. David Spellman. Suzanne Jones. Tim Plass. Here. Ann Justin. Rick Pilgrim. Lynn Baca. Here. George Teal. Here. Kathy Noon. Doris Trular. Here. Ron Engels. Catherine Hyder. Doug Tisdale. Here. Gail Christie. Jim Benson. Rick Teeter. Here. Charles Sigmund. Todd Riddle. Laura Keegan. Randy Penn. Dan Woog. Mark Gruber. Joyce Thomas. Here. George Heath. Samantha Meering. Lisa Jones. Laura Brown. Henry Ergott. Paula Bovo. Doris Rigoni. Saoirse Karras-Graves. Ron Rakowski. Here. Mike Hillman. Brad Weasley. Stacy Luberger. Tom Quinn.
Here.
Jerry Bean. Phil Cernanek.
Darn happy to be sharing the time with Mayor Penn.
Jackie Millay. Here. Gabe Santos. Here. Ashley Stolzman. Here. John O'Brien. Connie Sullivan. Here. Colleen Whitlow. Here. Deborah Jerome. Here. Chris Larson. Joe Gerlach. Joyce Downing. Carol Dodge. John Dyack. Here. Gary Howard. Landau De Laguna. Deborah Williams. Sandy Pennington. Val Vigil. Here. Herb Atchison. Present. Joyce J. Bud Starker. Deborah Perkins Smith. Simon Tafoya. Bill Van Meter. Here. Okay. We do have a quorum.
And I would like us to all welcome Connie Sullivan, the Mayor Pro Tem from the City of Lyons. She would just wave to everyone in the back. So Connie said this is her first meeting, so let her know if she makes any mistakes. And I said, you never make any mistakes at DRCOG, so you'll be good. Hey, see what I'm saying right here? All right. I am going to ask for a motion to approve the agenda. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. All right, report of the chair. At your seat, you will see a fancy new slippery document. And this is the DRCOG Principles of Governance that we approved at the last board meeting. And on the back, there are explanations for the terms used in the document. And kind of this is our Bible while we're here. There aren't 10 rules, there are 8. We have 8 commandments, and let's hope we can kind of keep this in mind as we do our work at the DRCOG board table. And I would actually encourage everyone to really take a look at it and read it when you have a moment. I'm sure you all read it in your packets last time, though. We had our RTC meeting, the Regional Transportation Committee meeting on Tuesday. At that meeting, we approved the 2012 TIP amendments. That's attachment E in your packet this evening that the board will be looking at. We also approved, the RTC also approved the special interest representatives on the TAC. You'll all be happy to know that Jim Taylor is rejoining us as a TAC member on the senior issues. So I think, again, a wonderful addition to our TAC and great expertise he will bring. The RTC also approved the DRCOG adjusted 2010 transportation urbanized zones that are included in our consent agenda this evening. And we were given an update on the 2040 Metro Vision. Other thing I want to let you know is Phase 3 of our review of DRCOG 101 started yesterday afternoon. I want to thank everyone who was in attendance yesterday. We're starting to talk about structure, the structure and governance of the organization. If you were at that meeting, will you please raise your hand so everyone can know who's sitting at that table? And I just want to, yeah, Randy, Randy, was that applause just for all of us or just for John? What about Colleen? Did Colleen make it too? So I want to thank everyone who participated yesterday. I think it was a great start. Jerry did a wonderful job leading us, and I think it's going to be an interesting discussion and debate, and the board will be updated as it progresses. I think that's all I have. With that, I'm going to turn it over to the report of our acting executive director, Flo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am pleased to report to the board tonight that Jennifer is planning to return to duty on next Wednesday.
We can clap for that. Wow. Not that we don't love Flo. All right, no more clapping.
I'm so delighted. So she will be here for your next MVIC meeting and next board meeting. So that's pretty exciting news. The division directors did go down and have lunch with her today, and she looks great. Feeling great, energy's back, so we'll all be delighted to have her back next Wednesday. So, also, the upcoming CARO meeting, the Colorado Association of Regional Organizations, will be in Trinidad, and Jennifer has told me that I will be going to that. So I will be providing a report from that meeting at the next board meeting. The budget is on track and on schedule and will be brought to the admin committee next month and also will be sent to the board next month. So you will be taking a look at that. In front of you, you have a couple of informational flyer items. One is October 2nd is the Sustainable Communities Initiative Consortium meeting. This one's going to be kind of an interesting one because the focus is on private sector developers. And so we would encourage all of you to attend and participate in that. It's always an interesting event, and there's information about how to register for that. It will be here at DRCOG, and it is at no charge. This really cool flyer, I really like this because it's old-timey to me. It's kind of the stuff you expect to see posted on trees somewhere. But it's Metro North Chamber of Commerce, and we are co-sponsoring that with Metro North, and we have 3 tables. So, and we will have 2 candidates, so they'll be at separate tables because we will be hosting the candidates in the Congressman Kaufman, Andrew Romanoff race. So those will be the candidates sitting at our table. So if you were interested in attending this, I know it's at 7 a.m. I know that. If you're interested in attending this, please let Connie know, and we will get you registered for that. And so we'll track that. We do have about 18 seats that are available between those 3 tables, so we can accommodate a fair number of members for that. We are also sponsoring the Denver Metro Chamber Congressional Debate, which is October 16th. That's very limited seating, and our officers will be attending that. That is October the 6th, and that'll be at the Sewell Auditorium or area at DCPA. And then finally, we were pleased to have served as local sponsors of the Governing Leadership Forum that was held in Denver last Friday. I know we had a few of our members who were there. Special recognition to Mayor Tisdale, Mayor Horn, Councilman John Dyack was there, and Mayor Joe Gerlach were all in attendance, and it was a good day, a good leadership forum, and thank you for participating in that. And that, Madam Chairman, concludes my report.
Thank you. All right, we're moving on to the public comment portion of our agenda. Up to 45 minutes is allocated at this time for public comment, and each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. If there are additional requests from the public to address the board, Time will be allocated at the end of the meeting to complete public comment. The chair requests that there be no public comment on issues for which a prior public hearing has been held before this board. Consent and action items will begin immediately after the last speaker. I would like to invite anyone here for public comment to please come up and approach the microphone. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public comment period, and we are going to move on to our strategic information item. I'm very pleased that Jayla Sanchez-Warren is going to be here to discuss the Community-Based Care Transitions Program. For those of you who don't know, and I'm sure we all do, Jayla is a director of the Area Agency on Aging. And we are going to actually hopefully be hearing from Jayla periodically over the course of the year to kind of give us an update on what is happening with the Area Agency on Aging. So thank you, Jayla.
Thanks for the opportunity. Doesn't feel, okay, now it's on, yeah? The Community-Based Care Transition Program is a relatively new program in the Area Agency on Aging. It is a demonstration program, 5 years demonstration program nationwide with the CMS, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid. The goal is to reduce hospital readmissions, to increase coordination between hospital services and community-based services, and it's designed to save money in Medicare, therefore designed to save taxpayer dollars. This program was not easy to get. It took us over a year. It stressed heavy community coordination, and we could not have been successful. Actually, we weren't successful in our first attempt to get this program. We totally rewrote our application and submitted it again, and then we got it this time. Our hospital partners are, there's 7 hospital partners, St. Joe's, and then the Health One hospital systems. So only in these 7 hospitals do we provide this service. We have other partners, nursing homes, home health agencies, hospice agencies, physician groups, and then partnerships that we've never had before. Certainly have worked with AARP, but we haven't worked with the medical community as much, and we really have allied with them in this project, so it's very exciting. Some of our partners are your community providers. You see folks like Jefferson Center for Mental Health, Jewish Family Services, Mount Evans Home and Hospice, Seniors Resource Center, Senior Hub. All of these folks are in your community, and they're essential in this partnership. The other thing that makes it such an awesome program is the staff that we have. And Heather Camper in the back, raise your hand, Heather. She's the supervisor of the CCTP program, and we are very successful. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Let me tell you a little bit about this program. So it's evidence-based, right? So it's been tested and proven to have significant positive results in reducing hospital readmissions. It's a 30-day intervention from start to finish, only 30 days. It starts at the hospital. We do an assessment of the patient at the hospital. My staff are at the hospital. We do a home visit, and we do 3 support phone calls. The coaching and the resources, community services, are the key components of this. So what happens is the coaches go out, and they say, what do you want to accomplish? And we hear things like, I want to visit my grandchildren. I want to be able to walk my dog. I want to feel better. Then we say, okay, let's look at what's going on here. We look at the medication. What did you come home with from the hospital, and what are you taking? 27% of the time, they're taking the wrong kind of medications. And that's a really quick way to get yourself readmitted back to the hospital. We've had cases where we've had a person taking 2 different blood thinners, and you want to say, okay, just sit down, don't move, we are going to call your doctor right now. We talk about medication self-management. You know, how do we manage those? And we talk about pill boxes and charting and those types of things. Medical follow-up. Okay, let's call your doctor. What do you want to say to your doctor? You need to tell them what new medications you're on, that you were in the hospital. And we make sure that they get an appointment to their doctor, and they have a way of getting there. And then we talk to them about the red flags. What are your personal red flags? How do you know when you're not doing well? What did you feel like right before you went to the hospital? We've heard things like, well, my shoes get too tight on my feet. I feel nauseated. I don't feel, I feel really super tired. Okay, then what do you do when you feel those symptoms coming on? Then what could you do better? The community services are really, I think, what makes us different than any other hospital transition program in the country. Because we take our services that we already contract with, remember we provide all these community-based services, and we provide them to a person who's at really, really a frail state. 30 days after they've been in the hospital. We provide nutrition, transportation, personal care, that's like assist to shower, assist with dressing, those types of things. Homemaker services, things like grocery shopping, meal preparation, changing sheets, doing laundry, and then case management services. Why do we want patients to be more activated? Because patients that are more activated have better health outcomes. They just do. So it reduces, those are more activated, have less hospital readmissions, they have less medical errors, they communicate better with their healthcare providers, and it really does make a difference. So this program decreases readmissions. The national rate is about 20% readmission rate. Our hospitals, when we first started this program, were just under that. You can see that the patients, this is a chart of our readmission rate. In our first month, we reduced the readmission rates by 10%. You can see each month it goes up and down, but for the 13 months that we've been doing this program, we have an average reimbursement rate of 5.9%. This is one of the best in the country. We're saving a ton of money in this program. So this program not only works in Colorado, it's working nationwide. We are one of about 65 now in the country that has this demonstration program. Look, at the feds are so excited about this chart. They just talk about this all the time. And they're excited about the 17.6 number. We got 5.9 people. We're doing great. But here's the challenge. We don't know what the future of this program is for us. See, we have a site assessment coming up in about 2 weeks from CMS. And normally our contract would end in April, and we would try and extend it for another year. But what we're hearing is the feds are nervous because sequestration is coming back. Everybody's nervous about the dollars. And there is a chance, because we have been successful, we don't have any red zone hospitals anymore. So they're going to take their money and put it in the East Coast, where there are a lot of concerning hospitals still that are having high readmission rates. Kind of feels like a slap in the face because we're getting punished for doing a really good job, right? Well, we decided that we're going to take this privately. We're going to try and offer their service private. This has been one of our goals, to diversify our funding sources for the AAA, and this is a program that seems to be something that's marketable. We have a business acumen committee. John O'Brien and Phil Cernanek participate in that. They're helping me understand how to do this. And we've got interest from local hospitals. There are several AAAs across the country that are doing this successfully and getting paid for it. And you know what? If it's right in line with our goals, it helps people stay in their homes and communities. Huge. It reduces health care costs, it supports community providers, and it's cost effective. We get less than $400 a month to provide this service, so that 30-day intervention is less than $400. One night stay in a hospital averages $9,600. We have served over 400 people in this program, and we've saved over $3 million to Medicare. This program works, and it's very successful. So do you have any questions?
Phil.
Jayla, I know the CEO and the Director of Operations at Littleton Hospital. How can myself and others help you?
That would be wonderful. We will talk to anybody. We think this is a huge benefit for the community and for the hospitals, and it will benefit the AAA and our community service providers, because it's not just the AAA where we're doing a package deal, right? So all those people that we currently fund, we would still be working with. So you set up a lunch, a meeting, you want me somewhere at some time, or our staff, we would be happy to go do a presentation and see if we could work together.
Joyce.
You said $400. Is that per person?
Per person,
Okay.
yeah.
Just wanted to make sure it wasn't $400 total. That'd be amazing.
Joyce,
Yeah,
write a
man,
check.
we are
Get the feds
really
back
good,
out.
aren't we?
Feds back out. Joyce has got $400 for you. Doug.
I just want to say, Jayla, that a 71% decline in readmissions and a savings of $3 million in Medicare spending is worth applause.
Thank you. Largely goes to Heather.
Are there any other comments or questions? All right. Herb.
Yeah, thank you. But to follow up with Phil, I've got to think that at least most of the board has hospitals within their districts, and I'm not sure why we aren't connecting with every hospital or every healthcare provider in each of our municipalities, because this goes back to us saving money
It does.
nationwide.
It does. And I'll tell you, some of the hospitals do readmission. They're trying to reduce their readmissions, and they have internal programs. But the thing that's different between their services and ours is they can't offer that community wraparound, right? So when someone comes out of the hospital and they don't feel like cooking and they don't eat, then it doesn't work. If someone's coming home and taking the wrong medications, it doesn't work. If they can't get to the doctor with transportation, it doesn't work. And that's why ours are different. And I think that's why we're having so much success, because we combine those two, the community services and the coaching together.
So with that, I actually think we could be a little strategic in our connections to some of the hospitals and healthcare providers in the area. So if you do think you have a connection or know somebody, I would actually ask that you email Jayla and let her know, and then perhaps you can come up with kind of a stock presentation, or, you know, great minds working together can accomplish great things. So I do think if there's anything someone thinks they can contribute, why don't you connect with Jayla, and then we can see if we can do more with this program, or at least make sure it doesn't get the funding completely gone. So with that, anybody else have any comments? All right, we're going to move on to the consent agenda.
Thanks for your support.
Thank you, Jayla. May I have a motion to approve the... All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? The motion passes. We are now quickly moving on to our action agenda. Number 10, the first item is the move to elect the board treasurer. I am going to ask Herb Atchison, as a representative from the nominating committee, to report on the results of their work.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. And on behalf of the nominating committee, a number of which are unfortunately not here tonight, but we did go through a pool of candidate applications. There were a number of outstanding candidates very clearly through the application and the letters that came in with them. This is a very unique group of people who are very dedicated to their communities, to DRCOG, and to service here in the metro area. And that did not make the decision easy, but we spent a good bit of time. We listened to the threat made by Connie that we were not to leave the room till we had a decision. There was no coffee, no cookies. It was
Just threats.
just a lot of threats and a big stick. And we were very fortunate to have come out with a unanimous recommendation tonight. We are recommending Bob Roth, representing the city of Aurora, as the treasurer. All the candidates did acknowledge that this was an interim position and would be back up for election in February. So with that, the committee wholeheartedly recommends to the board Bob Roth from Aurora for this position.
And is that a motion?
That is a motion.
May I have a second for that motion?
Second, no comment.
Yes, Mayor Rakowski.
I think it is long overdue that Aurora takes their rightful place at the table of the Executive Committee, and I think that Mr. Roth will represent Aurora in a fine fashion.
Thank you, Mayor Rakowski. With that second, I'm going to call the question, and all those in favor of Bob Roth joining the Executive Committee as the Treasurer, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? I think our new Treasurer would like to speak. Oh, you're abstaining. I would vote for myself. They all count. All right, and with that, we are going to have to give you another round of applause. You lucky, lucky man. So with that, we are moving on to agenda item number 11. Move to adopt a resolution amending the 2012-2017 Transportation Improvement Program. Attachment E in your packets. Todd.
Good evening. We have 11 amendments total for your consideration tonight. The first is the Region 1 Hazard Elimination Pool, where it's proposed to add $4.5 million in state safety funds in 2015 for the US 6 Bridge Design Build Project. The next consideration is the Region 1 Surface Treatment Pool, where it's proposed to add 15 projects and $47 million in surface treatment funds in 2016. The next is the Region 6 Faster Bridge Enterprise Pool. And before I move on, I'll just note that within this TIP, Regions 6 and 1 are considered the same entity, at least for this TIP. This proposal would add a little over $15.5 million in bridge enterprise funds in fiscal year 15 for the US 6 over Garrison Bridge project. The next is the Region 6 Faster Transit Pool, where it's proposed to add 4 projects totaling $5.1 million in faster transit funds, along with local match. The next 2 projects are combined and deal with the Region 4 flood-related roadway repairs pool. The First Amendment removes funding from a temporary pool that was set up, and the Second Amendment would create a new permanent pool. Within this permanent pool, it transfers a little over $20 million in federal emergency funds from the temporary pool into the new pool, and then also adds an additional 55 projects and $83.7 million. Also to note that the new pool will remove the state contingency funds of $25.7 million. The next amendment is very similar to the Region 4 flood-related pool, where it creates a Region 1 pool containing $12 million in 17 projects. The last 4 amendments before you are in reaction to the North Metro Line partnership, and this adjusts the use of the second commitment and principal funding. There's a letter in your attachment that explains it more in detail. But the first 2 amendments would remove the funding for the Welby Road Extension project and apply that to the Eagle P3 to support the Gold Line 60th Avenue improvements. The last 2 would remove funding from the Welby Road Realignment Project and apply that funding to the Claude Court realignment at the 124th Avenue East Lake Station. So I know that is a long list, but if you certainly have any questions, I could try to answer those for you.
Any questions for Todd? Seeing none, I'll look for a motion. I think.
Yep.
Well, I think Herb was going to wait to be called.
I'm just waving hands.
Yeah.
I would move to approve a resolution amending the 2012 through 2017 Transportation Improvement Program.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain. Motion passes unanimously. We are now moving on. I'm happy to announce to our informational briefings, and that is attachment F in your packet. We are rolling along. So Amanda Brimmer, the Technical Program Manager for the Regional Air Quality Council, is joining us this evening. Thank you, Amanda.
Good evening. Like I said, I'm Amanda Brimmer, and I am the Technical Program Manager for the Regional Air Quality Council, and I've been asked to brief you tonight about the 2014 ozone season and what that might mean for us for the future of non-attainment in our region. Slide, please. So I understand there's some new board members here today, so I just wanted to give you some background on the ozone standard, where we've been, where we're going.
Amanda, could you move that mic a little bit closer? or turn it on. Maybe I didn't realize.
Green. Is green mean on?
Yeah, so just
Okay.
if you just get a little closer to it, it would
Yes.
be helpful. Thank you so much.
I'm kind of tall in these shoes, so I'll have to crouch a little bit. Okay, so some background on ozone, what it means, where we've been. As many of you know, we are in non-attainment for ozone. So there are 7 counties, plus Weld County and Larimer County, that have been designated as non-attainment. This is for the 2008 standard. Oh my gosh, this is very close. Okay. So ozone, as we know, is formed when nitrogen oxides and volatile organic compounds combine in the presence of sunlight and heat. And so nitrogen oxides, also known as NOx, that basically comes from your combustion process. So engines, locomotives, aircraft, anything that burns fuel usually produces NOx. And then the other volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, that generally comes from things that you can smell. So your gasoline, your paint thinners, your solvents. So those two combine to make ozone. Ozone isn't actually emitted directly. It's a byproduct of a photochemical reaction. So since the Clean Air Act amendments of 1990 established 6 national ambient air quality standards. And so in 1990 they established the 1-hour standard for ozone. And so that was basically looking at sporadic peak exposures. And every 5 years the EPA is to look at these 6 criteria pollutants to determine if, based on current science, is it still protective of human health. And so in 1997 they established the 8-hour ozone standard, and basically they were seeing with science that prolonged exposures were more detrimental to human health than the sporadic peak exposures. So they changed the standard in 97. And then in 2008 they again looked at it and ratcheted down the 8-hour yet again to an even more stringent standard, which is what we are now in non-attainment for. So this is looking at our 14 regulatory monitors in the region. And basically every monitor has to be in attainment in order for the region to be considered attainment. So if one monitor is out of compliance, then the whole region is out of compliance. And so basically how the 8-hour standard works is it is looking at the maximum daily 8-hour average at every monitor. And we look at the 4th highest for that year, basically to get rid of all the outliers. So it's really high ozone days that were due to just out of the norm weather conditions. And then that is averaged over a 3-year period. So looking at, you see the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th ozone 8-hour ozone values for this year. And we actually only have one monitor this year that is out of compliance, and that is the NREL monitor at 76. And the standard is at 75. So actually for 2014 we're doing pretty well. But the actual test of attainment is this 3-year average. So when you look at 12, 13, and 14, we now have 4 monitors that are out of attainment, with our driving monitor being Rocky Flats. So basically we're not there yet, but we are making progress, and 2014 was actually a pretty decent year. So basically what this means for our attainment, 2015 is our attainment date. So by December of next year we have to show attainment in order to not get designated as a higher classification. So it really is all hinging on what happens in 2015. And there are basically 4 scenarios that can happen next year. At the end of the ozone season, we could have such amazing ozone levels that we actually attain that for 2013, 2014, and 2015, our average is at 75 or below for every monitor. That's not likely to happen, but it's possible. It's within the realm of possibilities. The second option is that all the monitors in the region are at 75 or below next year, in which case EPA would consider that clean data and give us a 1-year extension. So that would give us until 2016 to attain. And then in 2016, if we yet again have clean data, we would get 1 more extension to get us into 2017. And then our 3-year average would be looking at 15, 16, and 17 to get us into attainment. The third option is that we don't do so well next year. We have at least 1 monitor that exceeds 75, and we then get bumped up. We are currently marginal non-attainment, and we would be bumped up to moderate non-attainment. And then the 4th option plays into what EPA is doing right now, which is looking at the ozone standard yet again, and they're looking to ratchet it down even more. So their proposal is supposed to come out in December of this year with their final recommendation or the final rule in October of next year. So if they come out with a more stringent standard, there is a possibility that they would revoke the current standard at the same time, in which case we would just start moving forward under that new standard. So those are kind of the 4 possible scenarios based on the data that we see next year. Next slide, please. So this just gives you a visual representation of our non-attainment area and the monitors. So as you can see, the 4 monitors that I was showing that are exceeding for that 3-year average, and they are really spread out throughout the region. So this isn't necessarily a downtown Denver problem or a Weld County problem. It's equally distributed between Larimer County, Boulder, and a couple in Jeffco actually are our driving monitors. So it really shows that we need to have control strategies throughout the region. Part of this is due to just our topography and us being very close to the mountains. So the ozone that is generated locally, as well as the ozone that comes into our region, tends to just sit at the foothills, and it doesn't really release. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with the FRAP-A study that occurred this summer. So they're trying to get a much better understanding of what exactly is going on. Why are we having these exceedances in the foothills like we're seeing right here? And as Ken Lloyd, my executive director, likes to say, if you want to guarantee clean air quality, you should have a major air quality study. So that's exactly what we saw this summer with that FRAP-A study, was we had very good air quality, coincidentally. So next slide, please. While we would like to take credit and say that all the low ozone this year is because of the emission reductions and control strategies and federal regulations, we can't forget that climatology and weather does play a lot into this as well. So this year we were seeing it was a much cooler year. July was a much wetter year. Even compared to 2012 and 2013, we were seeing cooler temperatures. So that definitely played into our lower ozone levels. With climate change, who knows what the future of Colorado is, what exactly is normal these days? No one really knows. But we think the cooler temperatures did definitely come into play this year, so we'll see what next year looks like. Next slide, please. So that 81 parts per billion I was showing you in the first slide as our design value, this is tracking our design values throughout the years since the instigation of the 8-hour ozone standard in 1997. So that original standard was set at 84 parts per billion, and we have not exceeded that standard since 2008. There's not really much effort being put into trying to be classified as attainment for that standard, simply because EPA is proposing to revoke that standard altogether, so it's not really worth the effort of being classified as attainment. So we're just moving forward under the 2008 standard, which is at 75 parts per billion. And as I mentioned, the EPA is looking at revising the standard to this blue box at the bottom, which is between 60 and 70 parts per billion. This is actually what EPA recommended last time when they set the 2008 standard, and due to political reasons, they set it at 75. So it's looking more likely this time that they are actually going to set it within that 60 to 70 range based on the scientific recommendation, but we'll just have to see what happens. And that is expected to come out early December of this year, their proposal. So depending on where they set it, that's really going to dictate how big of a non-attainment area we have. There's a thing called background ozone, and that is basically if you were to get rid of all population in the area, all cars, all trucks, all power generation, everything, the ozone that is being created by biogenics, so the trees that are already here, and the ozone that is coming into our region is close to 40 to 60 parts per billion on some days. So when the standard is between 60 and 70, that leaves a very small margin of emission reductions that we can actually tackle or impact in our region. If it's down at 60, it's likely that possibly the whole state, if not the whole country, would be a non-attainment. So I guess on one hand, that's good because you'll now be eligible for CMAQ funds, but that means you're going to have a lot of control strategies you're going to have to implement. Next slide, please. So my last slide, I just want to show you, this isn't necessarily the test of attainment, but this is just showing how many exceedance days we had during each of the ozone seasons. And it's broken out by its level. The various levels that EPA is looking at was 60, 65, 70, as well as the current standard at 75 and the previous standard at 84. So when we're looking at 60, we're not really having a whole lot of deviation there. We're kind of around 35 days a year in the summer that are getting just over 60. But when you look at the top end of that spectrum, the 75, 80, 84 region, you're seeing a significant decrease. So this year we only had 9 days in which ozone was over the 75 parts per billion compared to last year at 19 and the year before at 33. So we're still having the lower ozone levels, but the higher ones are making significant progress. So last slide, please. And so this is my contact information. Basically, in summation, 2014 was a very good ozone year, and 2015 is the year we're really looking at to see kind of what it means for our region. Are we going to be classified as attainment? Are we going to get an extension? Are we going to get a bump up? Or are we just going to start from scratch and move forward with a new standard? So with that, I would be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Amanda. Herb.
Amanda, I'm looking at the two in Jefferson County. I can only presume that this is primarily air inversion that's causing those two, because Rocky Flats hasn't been in production since 1989, and the site was formally closed, and there hasn't been anything out there since 2005. Now, NREL has had some construction activity, but nothing major in several years. So the only thing I can think is because of the proximity to the foothills, as you indicated, that's what's driving those two monitoring stations to be at the levels that they are. Am I wrong?
Correct. That's our understanding, and this FRAPE study should hopefully confirm that for us this year.
Otherwise, we're going to have to fire a commissioner over there. Don.
I don't know, there are two that aren't here right now.
Ouch.
There are two commissioners that aren't here right now,
Yeah,
Mayor.
you're the one we get to pick on.
Okay, are there any other questions for Amanda? Okay, thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Actually, we need to build a loop.
Okay, we are moving on now to our committee reports. Elise is going to give us a report on the State Transportation Advisory Committee.
Well, I know you've been on the edge of your seats to hear how the STAC retreat went, and yes, it was an all-day retreat with our fellow STAC partners, which is as much fun as it sounds like it was. Actually, it was very positive, and somewhat useful in, fairly useful in clarifying the role of the STAC, in particular clarifying that STAC reports to CDOT, not to the Transportation Commission, and did some work on how the STAC can increase its influence in a way that it wants to. So agreement is to change the date of STAC meetings to be earlier in the process so that we could influence CDOT staff recommendations, and to have CDOT staff bring issues to STAC earlier so we can be part of the earlier conversations. So I think actually people felt pretty positive about having a more focused and involved STAC coming out of that. At the STAC meeting, subsequent STAC meeting that happened the next day, the legislative report, the Tiger 6 planning grant awards are out. Colorado didn't get much. We got one for El Paso, and that was it. No CDOT applications got funded. We'll know next May or June if there's going to be another round of Tiger grants coming out. At the state level, the legislative committee has no big plans for the next session. Safe routes to schools, doing some earmarking of funds in the CDOT budget, and then changing firefighter license plates, giving those to motorcycles. So not a lot there. Probably more importantly, Senate Bill 228, as you know, that process should lead to an extra $200 million next year for transportation. There's likely to be a fight at the legislature on whether or not other interests will take that money from transportation, so folks are gearing up for a fight by preparing a strategic list of projects by December, and focusing on strategic projects that are basically shovel-ready, can be constructed in the next 5 years, with a focus on mobility. They're looking to develop a list of about $2 to $3 billion worth. That work's happening in the regions first, so I imagine DRCOG's staff are working on that and will be involved. And 10% of that will be transit projects, so we'll be working on a transit list as well. So that's probably the biggest thing. We did get an update on surface treatment program. Because of ramp investment, surface treatments are happening at a much higher level, much more investment, and as a result are more cost effective and efficient because we're doing more preventive maintenance rather than reconstruction. Last but not least, we got an update on I-70, the I-70 viaduct. The supplemental EIS will be out August 29th for a 45-day public comment period. There'll be public hearings on September 23rd through the 25th. The final EIS should be out in the fall of 2015 with the decision document in early 2016. And the final comment will be that the last comment of the meeting was a rather, it was a big call out to DRCOG and Denver for not investing more in that project. A shot across the bow, if you will, from other staff members saying, if this is an important project to you, you guys should spend more of your local money on it. So, coming from Weld County. Just so you know. That's it.
On that pleasant note, let's move on to the Metro Mayor's Caucus. Mayor Tisdale.
Madam Chair, Metro Mayor's Caucus has not met since my last report.
Okay, quickly moving on then to the Metro Area County Commissioners. Commissioner Rozier.
At this point, Madam Chair, can I say ditto?
Yay.
So we did not meet, so no report. Thank you.
I'm loving the way this is going. So Jayla, we already heard from Jayla this evening, so she will not be giving a report on the Advisory Committee on Aging. I am going to, unless I'm here otherwise from my counterparts at the table, we heard a presentation from the RAC this evening. Amanda did a great job letting us know what's happening there, so I don't think we need to report on that. Mayor Rakowski, can we continue the roll?
No. Because I
You know there's always one.
I have to talk about Lone Tree.
Oh, well, by all means, please, sir, take the microphone.
Lone Tree was, after a long road, voted to be a non-voting member on E470's board. And I will say that their dear friends at Parker led the way to get them in.
It's you, baby.
From an operational point of view, briefly, there were some oil and gas leases approved, which will bring in additional money to pay off debt. And last but not least, we're probably within 60 days of the opening of the Quebec interchange for E470 up north, which will make Val's life a lot easier. Right, Val? Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, with that, I think we report on fast tracks. Mr. Van Meter.
Thank you. The RTD board at their Fast Tracks committee meeting had no action items. They did receive 2 updates, one on the Northeast Area Transit Evaluation. It's a study RTD is doing cooperatively with Adams County, Brighton, and Commerce City to look at future transportation options, bus rapid transit, commuter rail, or light rail between Denver Union Station and Brighton, and that was one of the commitments for a small amount of money, I shouldn't say small, a relatively small amount of money in the grand scheme of things, included in the Fast Tracks program for right-of-way preservation for a future potential investment. And an update on the North Metro rail line, and one other item at their marketing committee meeting, operations committee meeting actually, the board was briefed on the new branding for the US 36 bus rapid transit corridor, the Flatiron Flyer. And
please don't say fire.
Yeah, exactly. That concludes the 3 informational items our board was briefed on related to Fast Tracks in August.
Thank you. Okay, we are moving on to informational items. I would just note that there are the minutes from the MVIC committee meeting, the summary of the August 20th admin meeting, and relevant clippings and other communications of interest. Before we adjourn, however, it has been brought to my attention that CML is having their regional meeting the same evening as MVIC. Can I just get a show of hands for the people, MVIC members that will not, no, let's go with this way. MVIC members that will be able to attend our October 3rd MVIC meeting. October 1st, pardon me, October 1st. How many do we need? Okay, we do have enough for a quorum. We are going to have that meeting then that evening. And we are going to try and make CML and DRCOG coordinate in the future on the... I know. That's why I'm looking at you. No, I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing. With that, I know. With that, are there any other matters by members? Mr. Cernanek, Mayor Cernanek.
I just wanted to bring to folks' attention, some of you may have been there, September 17th, 1787 was in the nation's capital at the city of Philadelphia, that the U.S. Constitution was set, and this is also Citizenship Day, and others of you may have had in your own communities, but we swore in 37 additional U.S. citizens earlier today. So,
I think, do we applaud for that? I think we do. All right. With that, I want to thank everyone for coming and sitting at the DRCOG table this evening, and thank you very much. And our next meeting is October 15th. With that, we're adjourned.